Well, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be with you tonight and to talk about uh, how to be that authentic person. I am going to just give you the puzzle or the journey of my life, the things that I have done to come to where I am this moment. And I want you to always keep in mind that the extraordinary you can only show up when you're being authentic. And when you're not being authentic, people really don't get a sense of who you are. Can you agree to that? So I remember many, many years ago, we paid a lot of money, I should say the corporation paid a lot of money to a company to teach us on future thinking, how to be real, how to do this and how to do that. And after 4 years of doing that practice work, most people walked away and said, "What did you get out of that?" And they said, "Just to be yourself. The world is waiting for you to be real. The world wants more of your realness." And that's when people are comfortable with you and enjoy your presence. So I'm going to give you an outline or just a general review of some of the things that I have done that I thought really brought me into being a better person and more authentic. So I will start with my years of growing up on a farm. As most of you all know, I grew up on a huge farm in North Carolina. Lots of tobacco, cotton, peanuts, soybean, wheats, cucumbers, strawberries, you name it, we had it. So, and I didn't enjoy any of that. Didn't think I should be doing any of that. So I probably did not do a great job at that. And my mother, bless her sweetheart, she figured out a way for me to get out of that. She said, "You know what, you're not doing too much in this work in the field, so why don't you just help the person who prepares the meals?" So I did that from about age 12 to 18, and believe it or not, I consider myself to be the best cook there is in the U.S. as a result of that. So what the lessons from the farming? Leadership skills, cooperation, getting to work on time. A lot of time we were in the field like at 6 a.m. And 6 a.m. is really something on a farm, you can imagine. How many of you know anything about farming? Okay, so you know about the early time, right? So that was part of my life. In my family, which I think has a lot to do with being authentic, we had a process called, like, when you reached the age of 18, you either went to a college or you left home and you went up north to get a job, employment. So, two choices. I chose education. And I think and I know that education made the difference in my life. I went to a predominantly African American university, 99% black, 5,000 people there for 4 years. And there I worked for the dean of sociology department. First lesson about being your real self and how God places people in your life. I was in charge of the statistic lab. And one Monday morning, nobody was there, so I just laid my head down and went to sleep. And in walked the dean, who tapped me on my shoulders and woke me up. And she said, "Miss Pitt, do we not pay you to run this lab?" And of course I said, "Yes, but there are no students here today." She said, "And how would you know?" So she stormed out of the room, and I knew she was firing me. She just left so abruptly. But she came back with 2 applications to graduate school. One for UW Milwaukee, one for UW Madison, and actually a third one for UW Whitewater. And she said, "Fill this out and see if you can do that and get that back to me." So of course I did that, returned it to her, and 2 months later, guess where I am at? Milwaukee. Didn't know anything about it except the Bucks. That's all I had heard about. But to me, that shows you how God places people in your life that you know not for when you first meet them, whether it's for good or bad, but they're always there. And this lady chose to help push me on to the next level of being aware, being authentic, learning to ask for what you need instead of fire me. She had this tough name for not taking no stuff, and everybody did exactly what she said. But yet, she got me to Milwaukee's. Lesson number one, you never know where your good is coming from, correct? And then lesson number two, came on to Milwaukee, and my first job working as a therapist for a all-boys home, I did not like the way they treated the boys. So for a whole year, me and another partner, we worked on creating a new place where people could receive treatment with respect and love and care and all that stuff. So after that, we did about 3 businesses together, and all type of good things started to happen. And I just want to make sure I give you all the information from my notes. From that adventure of starting what we called Francis Pitt and Associate at that time, my life changed. I met a lot of people. Because the young men were not being treated right, there were a lot of people who wanted better facilities for boys' homes and things like that. So I was a social worker, but they gave us the title psychotherapist simply because we had 3,000 hours of clinical practice. So from that, we created Francis Pitt and Associates, outpatient mental health clinic, where we covered a lot of areas to make the world a better place. Lesson number 2, if you don't like what's going on around you, then is it not your job to be the change that you're looking for? So that's what we did, and we did that, me and a partner, for about 10 years. The second one was the financial planning with New York Life, and a lot of great things came out of that as well. But there were some days where things didn't go too well. So I want to share how I first came in contact with New Thought teaching. I was at a party, and I saw this young lady who I used to play tennis with, and she was just glowing, beautiful, joyful, and happy. So I could not wait to get in front of her and ask her, what is going on in your life? Because I sure want some of that. And she said, well, you know, I'm going to this class. I'm inviting you to come. It's teaching you about how to change your life and your behavior. So that was in 1979, Unity Teaching under Dr. Johnny Coleman at that particular time. I don't know if any of you have heard of her.
Yeah, I went to classes.
Wonderful lady. Yes, I remember the first time she walked in a room and she walked by me and the hairs on my arm literally stood up. I did not know what was going on, but that was the energy that she exhibited in her presence. So I started in 1979 and been running after that information and teaching and learning ever since. What else happened with that? Even though I was in New Thought, one experience I want to share with you was, got up one morning going to work, go outside to look for my car, and there is no car. Just no car, right? So I'm thinking, well, police must have got me for a ticket or something. So I call, no, they don't have the car. And then intuitively, I knew where my car was. The IRS had picked it up. Yes, for being behind on late payments of an installment agreement. Anybody know anything about those installments agreements other than myself? So, for about maybe 5-6 days, I was without a car, praying to God to figure out how to get that car and get the money to get it back. And also still doing training in Madison, catching the Badger like at 5 a.m. in the morning to get there to do an 8 o'clock presentation and set up. So One day I'm at my desk working diligently, and I get this phone call. And this lady says to me, Frances, you have been flashing in my mind. I just got back from Philadelphia, and while I was out there, you flashed. I got back home, you flashed. She said, what is it that you need, and how can I help you? How can I help you? Now, I had not talked to this lady for over 7 years or more. And I told her what I needed. I told her the circumstances, and she said, I will be there within an hour with the money, and I will take you to pick up your car. And that she did. And she said to me, you probably forgot, but many years ago, you assisted me by placing me in a class for 4 days for entrepreneurs. And out of that, my business has tremendously grown, and I am more than glad to help you at this point in time in your life. Lesson. What a lesson, right? To know that there's one mind, one God, delivering whatever you need. Not knowing where, when, or how, but if your belief is strong enough, you know something good will show up, correct? And then what I want to share to you at one of my lowest moments during that experience, I created a seminar called 7 Strategies for Moving to the Next Level of Professional and Personal Development. That became my biggest and my most requested seminar. So down in the valley, creating things, a lot showed up. Energy's there, the people showed up, the assignment showed up, and the idea came to me at that point in time. So do we know that the lesson is wherever you are, God is? And do we know that the good that you are seeking is also seeking you? Do we know that? And we know that it works, correct? All right, so that's one of my testimonies that I always like to share openly about my experiences that weren't always so good, even though I was practicing principles that I had learned from a long time ago. What else did I want to close and share with you? Okay, when I look back, I can see that God placed people in my life to assist me whenever I needed help. Even once when I was unemployed, I had taken out some investment through one of my board of directors. And when I was unemployed, that stock doubled, tripled, and it just kept going and going and going. And it got me through my unemployment period in life. Suffering. The definition of suffering is, anybody in the room know what it is? Not asking for help. We suffer because we don't ask for help. And why don't we ask for help? False pride. False pride keep us from being where we could be in life. And as the textbook says, the good book says, we know if you ask, it will be given, and you knock, and that door will be open. We know that's true. So what do I know about being authentic? Authentic to me shows up when you take your mask off. What is your mask? Are you wearing one? Do you have any? And of course the answer would be yes, right? Where are you? I'm the only one can do it right. That's a mask. I can do it all by myself. That's a mask. Can you all name any? I can do bad by myself. I don't need a man to help me. I'm strong all by myself. All the masks that we hide behind keep us from being authentic. Can you give me one from the audience, a couple that you may be wearing? Yes, I'm listening.
I should know that.
I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I've always taught when shoulda, coulda, woulda shows up in your conversation, that is a sign of suffering, correct? All right. Anybody else, can you name anything? Open up. Let's talk. What is your mask? You just laughed, so I'm asking you. I heard your voice. What's your mask? Right here. Um, she knows who I'm talking, right behind. Yes. Can't call your name. Monica, right. What is it?
No, I'm just trying to think of a name for, because I did laugh, because, but I just can't think of a title for it.
And that's one too. Can't think of a title. Or I can't think of one. That's a mask, right? So let's get clear with what a mask is. It says, take off the mask, and then the real person shows up. Yes.
When you say I'm not good enough.
I'm not worthy, not trustworthy. Yes.
Oh, blame it on the parents.
Blame it on the parents, which is a good one, right? Okay. Any others?
Have to be strong.
Wow, I wonder where that one came from. Where did that originate? Because we all go through that one. What else do I know about being authentic? Trustworthiness is the result of being authentic. I was attending a seminar of 4 hours on the word trust, Trust. Isn't that amazing? 4 hours to talk on that topic. And what we learned was a high level of trust in an organization, high performance. A low level of trust in an organization, low performance. People don't trust each other, therefore they don't trust the line as it goes to the top. Does that make sense? We see it all the time. You know, we don't talk about, but trust to me is something you can feel. In my energy world, I believe you can feel trust. And you can feel when a person is being real or not, in my experience in life. What else can I feel? I can feel when I need to get away from somebody, be it male or female. I remember in my young days, I could be at a party, and the boss would say, you better get out of here. And I tell you, I would get up, and get out. And the next day, I would hear about some event that took place, a fight or something happened. But that warning that comes to let us know it's time to move, it's time to go left instead of right. I believe all of us are born with that, but the question is, do we listen to that, correct? Okay, and as I said before, the greatness that I am seeking, it is also seeking me. And I've always lived a life like that. Even as a youngster, I know I spoke from my heart, and truth got me in a lot of trouble. My parents probably said I was a sassy child. But I did not know how to hold it back. If it came up, I let it out. And that's the way I live my life, and that's the way I look for people in my circle to be straight with me, to do straight talk. Now, didn't this go off? Straight talk, what does that really mean? The ability to say what you need to say to the person at the time that you need to say, instead of pussyfooting around with it. And of course, you know, straight talk can only come when you have built a relationship with that person, because when you say what you say, they know that you mean good for them, not anything bad. But straight talk can help you reach a goal much quicker than playing the games that you think you need to play to get where you're going. Do you agree with that? So my first question I would like to ask the audience is, what do you like? What do you think you need? What is it that you want more of and less of in your life to become that authentic person that you know you're on your way to be? What would you like more of, and what would you like less of? And maybe you can just take a minute and share it with your partner, someone next to you. But as I think about it for myself, what would I want more of? I would like the ability to tell this certain male that I really, really, really like him. But I don't have the nerve to say it right now. So what I want more of, the ability to just speak what's so in my heart. And what would I like less of is waiting when it comes to relationship. Now, if I was in a business deal, I would be the first one with my hand up and I would make my request. But it seems like when it comes to a male, my hand is not up and I don't make all the necessary requests that I should. So, anybody, can you think of anything when it comes to being authentic? What would you want more of and what would you want less of? Yes.
I'd like more of my sharing my vulnerability online. To offer that through my Facebook, my blog, my newsletters, to do more of that.
Okay, and what stops you?
It's not so much the inability to be vulnerable as it is to find the value or the need to get that done. You know, the logistics, the time, to find it valuable enough for others to hear it, to make sure I get it out there.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes. More structure in order to do what?
So alleviate the clutter in my life. Right now I don't know where stuff is, but I don't, and that's the excuse why I get things done. Because it takes that much longer to get that.
Okay. Hetty, you looking, so what are you going to say?
I was going to raise my hand, but you. I would like more power.
In order to?
The things that I work on, I need to follow it up.
Or ask someone to help you with that process. Someone who's good at that. And what gets in your way. Mm-hmm. I can think of one of my mentors who always said, if someone comes to her with a complaint, she gives them 1 minute, I'm going to say the word, to bitch. And then the 59 minutes, they solve whatever the issue is. And when that hour is up, that person walks out of that office feeling empowered, feeling they know what to do next, and it's no more of that stuff. I just think she has a gift for coaching that way. I do know for sure when she revamped her company, the accountants had to do calling, phone calls for business. And one accountant who had been with her for 17 years said, I just can't do it. I choose not to do it. I didn't come on this planet to make phone calls, so I'm resigning. And here's my key. So she always gave each one, they rented beautiful cars each year for the high management level people. So she said to the lady, she said, no, you keep this key and you keep the car because you've been such a great worker for 17 years. This is my gift to you. And she was always doing things like that. Time for evaluation and ask the managers, how much of an increase do you think you should earn this year? Write it on a sheet of paper, turn it over, and let's deal with it. And she said 10 times out of 10, everybody always wrote a figure much lower than she was willing to give. But nobody ever asked for that 5,000 or that 10,000 increase. And yet she was there willing to give that. So I think when we look at what do we need more of and less of, I think it's being around people who's going to push us to that next level to be who you're meant to be in life. And for me, since I grew up in a house with a lot of laughter, I look for people who laugh a lot, who's happy, high energy, positive thinking. And if I don't feel that at a social gathering or whatever, I just don't go back. I don't go back. And I tend to attract eventually what I'm looking for in a male or female when it comes to mentoring or sharing of ideas or studying together and things like that. The more authentic I am, the more I attract what I really need in a job or in a clientele or in whatever I'm looking for in life. So I'm going to read to you what Dr. Ernest Holmes says about that. This is from the chapter 18 on the law of attraction. He says, so our thought makes our world and peoples it with our experiences. By the activity of our thought, things come into our life, and we are limited only because we have not known the truth. We have thought that outside things control us, when all the time we had that within which could have changed everything and given us freedom from bondage. And his last sentence was, everyone automatically attracts to himself just what he or she is. And we may set it down that wherever we are, however intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. And sometimes that's hard to take, isn't it? We are just where we belong when you're thinking it should be much, much, much more or so much differently, correct? All right, so we're going to pair you all up, and there are two questions that I wanted to ask you all. What are two things that you may want to work on to bring more authentic activities in your life? Or what could two things you can work on so that you may become more of an authentic person? So what I would ask is that each person take 2 minutes to share with the partner, or 3 minutes each, what you would be working on to make that a reality. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Appreciate you staying here to the end. Enjoyed you tremendously. And I want to close by saying, what I know is, my answers are revealed to me in the silence. Stay there more often, Francis. I have discovered this small university versus the large university life-changing experiences, white versus black relationships, trust versus non-trust, future thinking versus now, joyfulness versus sadness. I have the naming power to claim and be whatever I choose to be at all times. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.